So what if I told you that the most important part of your product has absolutely nothing to do with the product itself? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But that's the revolutionary idea from one of the most influential marketing books ever written, Positioning: The Battle for Your Mind by Ries and Jack Trout. This book completely changed the game, and today we're going to break down its core ideas.
Okay, first up, I want you to take a look at this number, $376.62. Just let that sink in for a second. Any guesses? What do you think that represents? It's a number that affects every single one of us every single day.
That number, well, it's the per-person cost of all the advertising you're hit with in America every year. That's how much money is being spent to get inside your head. And that is the central problem this book tackles. See, we don't just live in an information society anymore, we live in an overcommunicated society. And that creates a massive, massive challenge.
I mean, just look at this. Your mind is under constant assault from all sides. To cope with this flood of information, our brains have built up this defense system, right? We screen out and reject almost everything we're offered. We only really let in what matches what we already know. So the billion-dollar question is, how on earth do you get your message through that shield? Well, that's where positioning comes in.
And this, right here, is the big idea. And it's where so many people get it wrong. They think positioning is about changing your product. It's not. It's about changing the mind of the person you're trying to reach. You aren't creating something brand new from scratch. You're connecting with what's already there inside their head. It's all about their perception.
To put it simply, positioning is about owning a piece of real estate in your customer's brain. It's about carving out a clear, super simple identity that makes you stand out from all the other noise that's fighting for their attention.
And I love this metaphor of the open window. You can't just force an idea into someone's head with a sledgehammer. It just doesn't work. Communication can only really happen when you find that moment of receptivity, that open window, when the mind is actually ready to let a new idea in.
Okay, so how do you actually win this battle for the mind? Well, Ries and Trout lay out 3 core strategies. Let's start with the simplest and by far the most powerful one of all. Just be first.
All right, quick question. What's the name of the first person to fly solo across the North Atlantic? I'm willing to bet a name just popped right into your head, Charles Lindbergh, right? That name is basically etched into our collective memory because he was first. Okay, hold that thought.
Now, what's the name of the second person to do it? See, it's much, much harder. The answer is Bert Hinkler, and if you didn't know that, you just proved the entire point. Being second is almost like being nowhere. The first one into the mind gets this enormous, almost permanent advantage.
And this first mover advantage is incredibly powerful in the business world, too. I mean, look at these brands. They weren't just the first to sell a product, they were the first to own the idea of that product in our minds. Think about it. Kodak literally became photography. Kleenex is tissues. They got there first, and it's nearly impossible to kick them out.
But what if you can't be first? Is it game over?
Not at all. And that's where the second strategy comes in. You have to find what the French call a creneau, a hole, a little gap in the mind that the leader isn't filling. This might be the most famous example in marketing history. For 13 straight years, Avis was losing money trying to be just like Hertz. Then, they did something totally radical. They leaned into it. They embraced being number 2. This wasn't just a clever ad, it was a brilliant positioning strategy that turned the entire company around.
Ries and Trout talk about this idea of a product ladder that exists in our minds. For rent-a-cars, Hertz owned the top rung, no question. Avis realized they couldn't knock them off. So, instead of fighting for the top spot, they proudly cemented themselves on the second rung. And they did it by directly referencing the leader. It gave them a really powerful identity. We're the hard-trying underdog.
7-Up is another fantastic example of finding a creneau. They knew they could never, ever win on the crowded cola ladder against giants like Coke and Pepsi. So what'd they do? They created a whole new ladder right next to it. By positioning themselves as everything the others were not, the uncola, they became the go-to alternative.
Okay, on to the third and most aggressive strategy. What happens if there are no open holes? Well, then you have to make one. And you do that by changing how people think about your competition. You have to reposition them.
This one line, it's just a masterclass in repositioning. Tylenol was this tiny brand going up against the absolute giant aspirin. A head-to-head fight was just impossible. So instead, they attacked aspirin's core position as the safe default pain reliever. This single line brilliantly plants a tiny seed of doubt. Wait, maybe I shouldn't be taking aspirin? And then they just hammered that point home. But notice what they did. They never said Tylenol is better. Instead, they systematically built a case against their competitor. They highlighted all the potential negatives of aspirin, effectively kicking it off its pedestal as the one-size-fits-all solution. And the result? It was absolutely staggering. By creating a problem that only they could solve, Tylenol created a new creneau for itself and then just stormed in to become the #1 brand. They didn't change their product, they changed the perception of the competition.
Now, all of these strategies we've talked about, they all rely on one absolutely critical element: the name. Ries and Trout argue it's the single most important marketing decision you will ever make. Why? Because the name is the hook. It's what secures your brand to that ladder in your customer's mind.
I mean, the difference here is just night and day, isn't it? A well-positioned name does the work for you. Head & Shoulders tells you the benefit. Light Beer tells you the attribute. But Men and E? Frost 880? These names are confusing. They're inside-out names. They mean something to the company, but they mean absolutely nothing to the customer, which forces your advertising to work 10 times harder.
This just makes it crystal clear. Hog Island versus Paradise Island. Which one would you rather visit? It's the exact same place, but that name instantly creates a perception, a position in your mind. The power of a name is just enormous.
So, if we boil all of this down, what's the big takeaway here? It's a fundamental shift in how you think. You have to stop thinking from the inside out and start thinking from the outside in. And this really gets to the core of it. Your reality doesn't matter. Only the customer's perception of reality does. The answers you're looking for aren't in your factory or in your spreadsheets. They are already sitting there, inside the mind of your audience. Success comes from becoming an outside-in thinker, from understanding their world and their perceptions first.
And that leaves us with one final, and I think pretty powerful question. Because this stuff isn't just about products. It applies to companies, to ideas, and yeah, even to your own career. So take a moment and really think about it. In the minds of the people who matter, what position do you own?